Hello and welcome to Sovereign RPG. I'm Sovereign. We are back in New World today and I'm finally at a point where I can share my war build for my healer. Now this build can be used in other content. It's not as good as it could be. You could be in dungeons doing a lot more healing with your light armor. You could have different skills involved. This build works for me and this build is primarily focused on fighting in wars. It has high survivability. It's got really good CC. You're going to be a frontline healer sitting on the flags at all times with the tanks and the melee DPS, pushing points and really putting some hurt on the front line whilst also putting out massive numbers on your healing front. Now this build is going to be live staff, a warhammer. You're going to be mostly using the live staff, but when you have a little bit of rest in between the sort of long cooldown times of the sacred ground and the beacon, obviously, you're not going to want to throw up the orbital protection all the time because you want to be saving on your mana, but we'll go through the skills and what perks I've picked in a moment. Now, there will be some footage at the end of the video that I will put in the timestamp, which will be helping out with obviously the algorithm of YouTube because it's absolutely crap, and it will show you the actual build in action. So if you'd like to see that, make sure to check that out. Now, for our primary fitting on what we're wearing, we're going to be wearing heavy armor, and that is full heavy armor. We're going to be going full defense. We're not going to be needing to actually dodge out of anything because we're going to be sitting on that flag and there's going to be healing all over the place, especially if you have a good setup, if you're running in a guild group, company group I should say, or you're running in a set sort of alliance discord like we do on Orifena. Now I have bought the Covenant Adjudicator. This is the best starting gear. If you just reach 60, you're going to want to be grabbing these. You can farm the tokens for these in Reekwater, or you can farm them up north in one of the 3 non-faction zones. They all do really good, but for me personally, the best one you can do right now is Reekwater. It's very easy to do. You can do it in 5 minutes. You get about 5,000 tokens per run, and you can start doing that from around level 58, so you can start and sort of catch up to the point where you can have enough. Now it does cost quite a significant amount of tokens, but you can do it in a day. We have done it in a day. As soon as we hit 60, we got this done. And you're going to be wanting to get the faction tokens, the cleric tokens that you can get to change the stats on the heavy armor, because it starts off with constitution and strength, and you're going to be wanting to get the one of the priest, which changes the stats on your armor to constitution and focus. Now I've done that on every single piece. Each piece of armor gives you 2.5% reduced max cooldowns, and it gives you resilient, which makes critical hits deal 4.5 less damage to you for each piece. It is very good for sitting up there in the front line, especially in this warrior priest build. Now I am using the infinity crystal. It's got 23 strength. I'm only using this right now because of the gear score. It's 570. It raises my gear score up enough so I can start getting better drops when I'm doing the PvE stuff. But it does have a fortified ability on it, which any fortifier you apply lasts 14% longer. It gives you 9% more maximum health, and you gain 9.3% more health from all incoming healing effects. So it kind of counteracts the fact that it's got strength on it with those 3 perks on this item. It is very nice. You can get this from completing the quest chain, working up to getting your 580 weapons. This comes when you complete the certain zone. I believe it is Great Cleave. I'll have to double check on that one. And you get the Jewel of Vengeance, which again I am using only for the gear score, which gives you reducing max cooldowns to 2.5%. So it is a pretty decent bonus, and it does work for what I'm using it for currently. But there are better options out there if you can find them. Now I just got kicked from the game from this new 1.0.1 AFK measure thing. If you're not moving your character, you're actually getting kicked from the game. That's a bit of a shitty thing, but we're going to carry on going through the video now. Now lastly, we have Ill-Gotten Gain. You can get this from farming a mob. There's plenty of videos on YouTube. Everyone and their mum's done a video on this, so make sure to check that out. It gives you plus 20 constitution, gives you refreshing toast, your potion cooldown 25% faster, gives you regenerating, you gain a passive amount of health back every second, and duplicating toast. When you drink a potion, there's a 12% chance it doesn't consume. This is very good because this build is quite mana exhaustive, so when you're using those mana potions, there's chances they will not be used. I need to upgrade my bags at some point. I've just been doing all kinds of other stuff, and I haven't really needed to do it at this moment in time. Now we do have the Arboreal Warhammer of the Soldier. This does have 24 strength. I do need to upgrade this, but I haven't got any drops so far, and it will be, I'm actually on the last step of getting the 580 Warhammer and the 580 Live Staff. You can spend a little bit longer doing the actual token farm to get the faction tokens to get the Warhammer from the faction vendor, as I did with the Live Staff, because that 25% healing bonus from Blessed perk is absolutely massive, and light and heavy attacks reduce your active weapon cooldowns by 2.5%, which is absolutely insane. Plus the 25 focus is really nice on there. I don't see how the 580 staff is going to be any better than this. It really isn't. It does more damage, but the perks on the life staff that you get from the 580 mission is really kind of shit. And I'd only really use that life staff in dungeons so I can get my gear score up higher. If I'm going to be in PvP, I'm going to be using this stuff in the wars because I don't need to worry about that gear score coming out at all during those wars. So I'm going to be using this life staff as a primary weapon. Now we do have our potions, the powerful elixirs you can get from the factions. I'm just using a light meal for food if I'm running around and I don't want to waste any healing potions or anything. You can just use that to heal up. And I'm using the powerful mana potions. And that's pretty much all the gear I'm currently using on this build. Now for skills and weapon mastery, now obviously with the attributes, I had to take off the jewelry I was using, which is why I'm missing 11 points up to 250 focus. But as soon as I get a piece that gives me extra focus from the jewelry, I'll slot that in, I'll have 250 focus, and we are sitting at 106 constitution. And the strength up here is just the bonuses from items that we're not currently, shouldn't be using right now. But I need to fill in some of those slots, but we work around it, and we're sitting at 9,430 for max health. It is quite a decent amount of health. You do take a lot of beating, and especially if they're throwing siege at you, you can survive a hell of a lot of attacks. And with the Warhammer up, we have blocking perks which allow less stamina to be used while you're blocking with the Warhammer, so it's really nice. So let's go into the weapon mastery. We'll go into a Warhammer. We're currently using the 3 skills: Shockwave, Path of Destiny, and Wrecking Ball. Now Wrecking Ball is for single target knockdowns. You can get the perk in here which makes it a group area target, so everyone around will be knocked down. This is great for when you're pushing onto a flag. The Shockwave, it stuns all enemies in a AoE around you for 2 seconds. You can use this for tanking, but that's not necessarily for this build. When you're grabbing the 2 extra perks on this, you do throw Weaken up, so it decreases the damage dealt from targets. So that front line, when those melee are hitting your front line, you can make them weaken to not do as much damage. And you can expand it to a 4-meter radius with that second perk. These are perk choices you have to get for both of these. With the knockdown, you can actually gain Fortify, 20% damage resistance. So you run in, throw that down, run in, throw the Weaken down, and then you're going to throw your Path of Destiny, which you can do from slightly back in the back line because it does hit 3 times ahead of you, and it does have a slow and a stagger, and every enemy hit ability reduces the cooldown. You're going to be swapping into this weapon on your time down on your life staff. So when you're waiting for your actual healing AoE abilities to come back up again, you'll jump in and you just throw down all of this CC. Now we have grabbed Aftershock, so whenever a target is affected by crowd control, they are slowed for 20%. This is another really good thing, especially when you're going to be hitting everything in front of you apart from Destiny, everything around you with Shockwave. It is definitely helpful on the war front when people are trying to get out of the front line. If they're taking a little bit too much damage, you can really hold that position in there and get those kills in. But this build isn't about kills. We're still just a healer, but we do have an extra amount of CC, which is really nice. We've picked up Outnumbered, which increases your damage absorption by 10% if surrounded by 2 or more enemies within 3 meters of the player. As we're a frontline healer, just any damage absorption is massive, especially on the war front. We've also picked up I Can Do This All Day, which reduces the stamina consumption by 30% when blocking melee attack. If you get pushed out of that center ring off that flag, and you've got the people that are flexing outside on the outside with their great axe and hatchets, or their great axe and warhammers, they're going to be doing a lot of damage. So if you get pushed out, they might come up to you. Just throw that block up with your right click, step back into the actual flag, and continue doing what you're doing. We have picked up the acceleration, which Warhammer cooldown by 7% for every light attack you use with a person that has a debuff on them. And with all of your AoEs, you're going to be debuffing with literally everything. So everything has a debuff that you're going to be using. So this will be happening quite a lot. We have guarded sprint, so we'll be taking 10% less damage while running. We have 15% damage against targets affected by Warhammer debuffs. This is just there because it was just a flex perk. I had an extra point and I didn't really need to put it in anything else. We're not really there for doing the damage, it's just there for the CC. Now for the extra perks in Juggernaut, we have gone all Warhammer abilities apply exhaust, slowing the target's stamina regeneration for 15% for 5 seconds. This is a massive debuff when people are running around and they're trying to dodge everything. You got the front line with the shields and the swords, and they're actually holding up their blocking. stamina regeneration debuff is massive, especially on that frontline front. We have quick recovery, which cooldown reduced to 7% on heavy attacks if you have a little bit extra time to throw up a heavy attack. You gain empower on a heavy attack, which increases your attack damage for 20% for 4 seconds. It's just there, flex point as per usual. And then we have the heavy attack grants 20% damage reduction while heavy attack grit is active. So whenever you use your heavy attacks, you will add grit to it and you'll take 20% less damage. If you're taking a little bit too much heat, you got guys around you, just throw up those heavy attacks. Maybe someone will come along and be able to help you. So now we're going to be moving on to the live staff, and what we've got here for our free abilities is Sacred Ground, Orb of Protection, and Beacon. Sacred Ground and Beacon are going to be what you're throwing up on the flag at all times. These throw up massive amounts of healing. Currently with the build I'm using, it's about 1000 HP a tick for the Sacred Ground and about 600 for the Beacon. Now it does a lot of healing in a big area for the Beacon, that's why we're throwing that up there. The Orb of Protection gives everyone around where it hits. It does damage to the front line. It heals an ally for 10% of the weapon damage. This usually is about 400 healing that I usually get out of this, and it gives a 10% fortify for a massive 20 seconds. Now with the actual trinket that we've got on, adds an extra 17% time on your fortify, so that's going to be up for a hell of a lot longer, and you don't have to throw it up as often as you would need to. So with the Protector's Blessing on this, you actually gain recovery for 10 seconds for everyone that gets to hit around it. If you successfully heal an ally, you personally also gain fortify and recovery. And with the last perk Aegis, it actually affects all allies within a 3-meter radius. Now for Beacon, we picked up everything along that line. We got Infused Light, which 50% longer, lasts 5 seconds longer. So Infused Light, we got 50% larger amount. We got Beacon, lasts 5 seconds longer, and actually gives a 20% haste for 3 seconds with anyone that gets healed in there. For Sacred Ground, we have picked up everything along the line as well. Now this is your biggest heal. It's your shortest range heal. So like the area of effect that you get of this, you have to place it really well. I would not recommend having the automatic heal up front. You just want to be wanting to stick it around the flag, because most people will stick to that flag like hot glue. It also gives regenerate stamina and mana buff 100% faster while anyone's inside of it, and they are healed for 50% more from all healing. This is where the Beacon comes into play, and you do massive amount of healing. And when you're doing your light attacks and people are standing in there, you can just light attack the actual center of the Sacred Ground and you can heal for massive amount. We've picked up Desperate Speed, so when you heal an ally with less than 50% health, lifestyle abilities cooldowns are reduced by 10%. That can only be triggered once every 5 seconds. We have Sacred Protection, so while you're holding a life staff, you increase the amount of healing to all friendlies in your group by 5%. You got Revitalize, when you hit a light attack, reduce all cooldowns by 5%. You just spam this because you're going to be healing with that light attack anyway with the Absolve and Blissful Touch combo. Light attacks and heavy attacks no longer cost mana. Your light attacks actually do a heal of 20% of your weapon damage. We have Enhanced Justice, which when you're hit in battle, you activate a healing aura and all nearby friendlies in a 4-meter radius, healing for 10% weapon damage each second for 6 seconds. You're going to be getting hit a lot up in that front line. And we have Intensify, which you can stack up to 3 times, which give you 30% better healing for 10 seconds. So throw up 3 heavy attacks when you're on the way in, have that 10 seconds, drop your healing down. You want to drop your Sacred Ground right on the flag, drop the Beacon into the center of that, and you're going to be healing for massive amounts, 1.2 to 2 million healing every single war. It is really, really, really nice. And that's pretty much the entire setup for my Warrior Priest build. I will make sure to check out the actual footage at the end. I will speed it up so you can see all the healing and stuff that's going on in there for the actual entirety of the war, so you can see where you're going to be placing, where you're going to be sitting, and how much healing it actually does. So make sure to check that out. I want to thank you all for watching. For more healing guides and more hammer guides, make sure to like and subscribe. There'll be more end game content coming as we go through the game. I will do an in-depth guide on how to get the 580 weapons for each of them. I'm currently doing them right now. It's going to take a little bit of time because there's 7 quests per thing, but we'll get there out there. I want to thank you all for watching. Fly safe and avoid local chat scams.